What's up, Drop Pod listeners? You can check out new episodes of the Drop Podcast every Wednesday wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find all of our content on YouTube at The Drop Golf Podcast and on our socials. That's Instagram and Twitter at The Drop_pod. No matter how you consume us, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Follow and listen along.
This episode is brought to you by All County Exteriors. All County Exteriors is a third-generation, premier exterior home remodeling company celebrating over 40 years in business. In a remodeling world where the average remodeling company only survives in business for only 5 years, All County Exteriors has stood the test of time, providing their customers with top-quality roofing, siding, windows, and doors. They service homeowners and builders with anything from small repairs to large additions. All County Exteriors is not just limited to construction. They have a deep passion for giving back to their community and are charitable supporters of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the American Cancer Society, Roofs for Troops, and Parents of Autistic Children. If you have planned to do any exterior remodeling, call the experts at All County Exteriors for a free, no-obligation estimate for your project. Just call 732-370-2780 or email them at info@allcountyonline.com. That's 732-370-2780 for All County Exteriors for all your remodeling needs. This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Poro, and this is Ryan Coulott.
What's up, Drop Pod people? We got a special episode for you this week. Mike and I spent some time with Billy Annesley, who is the founder and CEO of Bantee Golf. Bantee Golf is a social media golfing app. Billy's going to explain that. We're going to get into that in the interview. But we're going to send you right to that interview now with Billy. Enjoy.
So today's guest is the founder and CEO of Bantee Golf. Billy Annesley is our guest today, and I can't wait to get into this one because this new golf app is going to hit the market. It's going to get going, and it's already something that's I'm sure a lot of us may use as is, but I wanted to bring Billy on here to kind of talk about himself, the app, and everything in between. So Billy, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
No, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on here. I'm excited to dive into it all.
Yeah, so I think, obviously for us, a lot of what we do is just network and connect with so many different people, just being, two people more or less that are really here trying to promote golfing in the Garden State. And I know that, our paths kind of crossed a little bit, when we were at Union League and you saw some of the things that we had posted on there. And then I jumped onto your DMs and saw about Bantee. And I said, man, this is like, in theory, could be a match made in heaven with some of the things that we're doing with our audience, with connecting and things like that. So why don't you give us a little bit of background about you, Bantee, and kind of like what, and what inspired you to get this thing going?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bantee was a COVID thought that, throughout COVID, you're locked up inside, you're just hours and hours just kind of by yourself working. And, I always wanted to do something more. I guess to rewind a second, I was, when COVID hit, I was working in advertising sales at Pandora. And I went on a golf trip with my college buddies to Pinehurst in November of 2020. So it was like the summer wave of COVID. And then it was like diving into like the winter wave again, where it was like starting to get serious again. And we went on this trip and, my dad kept texting me asking like, how are you guys playing? Like, how are you doing? And I was like, there's got to be a better way to kind of communicate or like, be able to showcase your rounds. And I got home and didn't really act too much on it, and started in the early spring of 21, started to really think through this golf travel app idea that I originally like kind of thought of. And a buddy of mine had worked on this bachelorette planning app called The Batch. It's if you're planning a bachelorette party, go check it out. But I kind of was like, I feel like a golf travel app, guys don't really care to plan too hard. They're not going to over plan it, and they probably use it like twice a year. So kind of took a little rewind, step back, and was having a convo with the buddy. He's like, what's kind of like just like the most thing people care about and ask in terms of golf? And I was like, I feel like the most common question in golf is how'd you play? Just straight up, how'd you play? That's like
100%.
probably, it's got to
100%, no
be,
doubt.
yeah, just straight up, how'd you play? I was like, all right, well, how'd you play? That directs to just knowing what someone scored. I'm like, okay, so why don't we make it more of a social app that just shows on a feed kind of like the snack of a scorecard, which is just what hole you're through and what plus or minus par you are. So that's where the idea for Bantee really originated, with just being kind of a live feed to go follow your friends' rounds. And then you'd be able to expand into their full scorecard, comment, banter them, chirp them, golf clap them, cheer them on. So that's kind of really where the idea and pursuit came from.
Mike's all over that, because I can't tell you how many times that we golf separately, and I'll be like, "Hey, I'm going out to golf today." He's like, "All right," and then he knows that I'm teeing off at say 11:30, and by 11:45, he's like, "What'd you shoot? What'd you get on the first couple?" And then I'll start getting bombarded with texts, and it's like he wants to know how I'm playing. He's interested, genuinely interested in it. That sounds something like right up his alley there, and anybody else that's like interested in other people's golf games.
Right. And I think there's also the layer that not only are you interested, whether it's a group of guys or women, people either want to cheer them on or like chirp them and engage with them. So it's like layering on that like fun kind of social engagement aspect is kind of, a really rewarding thing to see within the app when I like open it on a day like today and see people posting, and, if someone gets a birdie, they're commenting. It's fun. It's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, and it's so funny you said it, because, like, for example, like my dad lives down in Jupiter. Okay, so I texted him this morning. I said, "You going to play golf today?" He said, "Yeah, I'm teeing off at 10:30." And obviously, I can't lie. If my dad had the app and would put things in on the app, I would randomly, when I had free time, I would check. Like, to me, like, I love that idea that you could kind of be with somebody and not necessarily have to sit with them in the cart or be in their foursome. And I think that's the one thing that really draws me to the app is like, man, I think, especially with people like Ryan and I too, that we have a decent amount of people that listen and follow and always are asking us, where are you going next, or where are you playing next, or how are you playing, things like that. Like, that's another great way for us to connect with our followers as well, using something like your app specifically.
Absolutely. And it's actually coincidentally 10:30 a.m. right now. So if your dad was on Bantee, you'd be getting a push notification that he just teed off. And so, you can set the settings, or, whoever you follow, you get notified when your friends tee off, so you can actively go cheer them on or chirp them, or, it's kind of a nice 4 to 5 hour window to like know you can go check back in with your friends and, whoever.
I think it's awesome. And then so like within the app itself, okay, so
Actually, Mike, before you can I ask this? This might be a stupid question, Billy, but as we're playing, right, we get in the cart. I have to update the scorecard, obviously, as we go on the app, right?
Right.
So it's something where you got to have your phone out. You got to keep doing updates. Is it like the Gin app that's like you can keep stats? Like, have you ever done that, like with the Gin app, where you put all your stuff in? Is it doing that for you too?
Yeah. So there's kind of a combo of ways that we encourage people to use it. I think the ultimate way that, kind of makes Bantee the most fun is the golfer actively recording their score after each hole. What's important to know about like what we call our play now mode, which is you set up your round, you tee off. We have a very clean user interface that like is simply like makes it a simple way to just click plus or minus for each hole and moves on to the next hole. And I think that is obviously what allows for the most real-time engagement. But even myself, I'm like, sometimes I go through 3 holes and then I go and update the last 3 holes. Like, so it's not, depending on the stretch, if you're walking in a cart or if you have caddies, like, I'm not actively always on my phone, but I typically record every couple holes to try to be as active as possible. But again, you can go out, come home, and record your score on Bantee and upload your photos, and it can be a retroactive kind of engagement and post
Okay.
to the live feed because
Because
it doesn't. You go.
I was gonna say, for someone like me, that's like, I'm not on my phone all the time. So like, especially when I play, and when Mike and I play, I'm driving the cart, so I'm not driving and putting stuff in as it is. Whereas like in that situation, Mike's sitting there, he's on his phone. So when you have kind of varying degrees of people who are on their phone, it makes it maybe not tough, but not the most up to date. So it's good to hear that you have an easy interface, because I'll go back to the Gin app because I know that that's kind of what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
That interface is not smooth. First off, how you have greens in regulation above fairways in regulation, I don't understand. You hit the fairway first before you hit the green, so don't get me started on that. But
Yeah.
it's like tough. It's not the easiest to go through. So having something that's smooth and that like they said, that interface is easy to maneuver is got to be the biggest key.
And that's really our number one, like one of our top priorities is making sure this app is as clean and easy to use as possible, and incredibly digestible, to kind of comprehend and understand, because like golf can be a really nuanced and complicated sport. And there's a lot of, like, even if you look at a standard scorecard, there's a lot of boxes, a lot of numbers going on. So I think it's important to note about Bantee is where we're trying to separate ourselves is that we're a social app first that is tailored and tweaked to be like designed for golfers to input their scores or upload their photos. We also have this chirp feature. It's essentially a version of a tweet or an Instagram post where you post a photo and a caption. So, even if you're not golfing, I think Bantee's, a great place to, push your golf content on days you're not, actively playing. But I think that, as much as we encourage the real-time posting, we encourage all content posting. So, no matter if it's in the moment, afterwards, but we are rolling out our Gin integration. Gin opened up their API, which basically means that we are able, if you post on Bantee, it will update directly to your Gin. So that will be coming in.
Huge.
Yeah, that they only Gin, the USGA opened up their API last year. So we did all the back end framework to get it kind of, integrated within the tech stack, but we're still working on our user interface of how we want it to, for the consumers out there, how it would look for them, and making sure it is smooth and pretty, and making sure the right rounds are recorded and transferred over. So that will be really huge, because I know no one wants to post their golf scores twice. I mean, that's no one really cares to do that, but I think that will be really, really great to see the response from our, users, and hopefully all the new users that we get in the new year, to how they, really like that feature, because it should make it as seamless as possible.
Yeah, that would be huge. I didn't think about that originally, but if I was posting the scores twice, I think that would be a hindrance, quite frankly. Like I would not want to be, I got to put it in Bantee, now I got to put it in the Gin app for it to count. If you could make, like, having that be seamless, that transition, that would be a no-brainer. That'd be incredible.
Yeah, we're really excited about that one coming, and we're also working on a Strava one, where if you're an active Strava user, and Strava is a fitness app.
Yeah.
Where when you post on Bantee, it will post to your Strava feed. And I think the main one of the cool aspects of Bantee and golf is, if you're a runner or a cyclist and you're on Strava, you can engage with the people that might be engaging with your activity, because you're running, you're biking. But golf is slightly more leisurely, to say. So
You have some downtime.
you have a little downtime between holes. So it's great that that's where we differ, in that sense that if you're not on the course, like me at home right now, I can engage with the athlete, the golfer, while they're participating, if they choose to be on their phone for that moment, because there's a lot of downtime.
I think the idea that it can be, it would be an hindrance if I have to go from posting on Bantee then over to Gin. I do think the idea that those two can be synced together is absolutely huge. I truly do. And I think that's one of the nice things about Bantee, is because I'm always on my phone. I constantly live on it, whether I'm playing golf, not playing golf. To me, it's like I'm always there. So if I had 5 minutes while I'm walking around, if I just scrolled my feed real quick and see things, and if I had the opportunity, I would easily comment on something. And I think that idea that people could get some sort of comment from somebody else, like, oh, hey, good, play well, look forward to seeing how you do afterwards. I think those types of things, is the engagement side of it, is something that, I don't know, listen, I would love. And I think about it specifically on like trips or anything. Like if I'm going on a golf trip, the idea that I'm always asking people like, yo, what'd you shoot today? What was the course like? And to not only, instead of having a normal text conversation, but to see some pictures while having other comments on there as well. I think that's super cool. I mean, I downloaded the app myself the other day. I started scrolling through it. I started playing around with it. I'm like, knowing how much of a golfer, and I always like reference myself as a nerd, but like I'm all in on things like that.
I can totally, Mike. I can totally see you just being absorbed by this.
Yeah, well, I was. I said to Billy the other day when I spoke to him, I'm like, dude, this is something that's right up my alley, because I think there's a lot of people that are like me out there, that are just all in on golf. They always want to know how people are doing. They're curious. I think that's something that drives us as people, like, and to be able to, now I can interact with you when I know you're at maybe a special spot that I'm dying to get to. Like, dude, that's sweet.
Yeah. And I think, like, when you think of, I don't know about you, I'm sure yours is similar, but like my personal Instagram is, if I go to Reels, it's mostly golf related content from like the algorithm. So Bantee is just a form of, and partly just a huge form of a social media feed that's strictly golf content, because the people that are on our app are golfers and post golf photos and video, or we're getting videos soon, but the idea of videos coming onto the feed too would be similar to scrolling an Instagram. Like if you went to Instagram and search #golf, like that's hopefully what the Bantee scrolling feed is like. But I was going to say that, what's also, I think, great about Bantee, and one of the reasons, I really am like all in on it and, pursuing, is that it's not a golf app that's going to pretend to make you better at golf. It's not really it's not a golf utility app. It's not performance based. It's social first. And while the play now mode, like you record your scores, we do give you the yardage of the hole. We may work in a couple little more GPS tweaks here and there just to be a little more helpful in case you do need all that on your phone, but we're not going to tell you your like fairways and regulation, or ask you to put that in, or your putts. It's just, birdies, pars, bogeys, like the kind of the high level key things that people talk about. Like no one ever asked me how many fairways I hit in regulation, but they might ask me how many birdies I got. Like, 100%. So that's right. So
I ask that to Ryan all the time.
Right. If you ask me,
legitimately, he asked me my score and how many birdies.
If you ask me how many fairways I hit in regulation, we're probably not going to be friends. Just because that's
well,
not.
Listen, I do think, and I think that's why the app. And again, to me, like when I think big picture, and I think about what a social golf app would be, if you're looking to be on the more experienced elite level app, or in terms of finding your data, like maybe Bantee's not for you. But I think Bantee is for the majority of us golfers. The reality is we are all not that elite level golfer. But the idea that I can go on there and still be an elite golfer, I can be a recreational golfer, I can be, frankly, someone who plays once a year and still go on there, chirp them, talk to them, see some pictures, interact and engage, to me, like that is like so fucking cool, because now I can just go on there and be like, dude, what did you think about Pinehurst? Like, show me some pictures. Let's see some things. And it's not only just going to me, but it's going to the feed that other people may jump on and say, listen, this guy goes to cool spots. Let me follow him there. What's he about? And now you're able to, like a lot of things, how you and I came across, like you're able to connect and network with people that, quite frankly, you wouldn't have.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like with Bantee, it's for all golfers out there of all skill levels. And if you like golf content, whether it's pictures of courses or just any type of golf related content, Bantee's your spot. And you're right. Like you don't need to be good to, share that you're having a fun day at the range or putting the work in or just on the at the 19th hole overlooking the course, whatever the post may be. It's meant to be used on and off the course. So a lot of those golf utility apps, it's like you're only going to use it if you're on the range practicing, trying to get the data. But if I'm in the airport lounge or on the train going down to the city for work, like I'm scrolling through Bantee to check out some golf photos and scores and content.
Yeah, yeah. And so like could in theory on the Bantee on the feed, could I take the link to the podcast and could I put the link there in the feed that people that are golf diehards, could I put that there, or is Bantee not geared that way?
We're working to have those type of features. Like at the end of the day, we're a social media app. So I think when you think of Instagram and the way I don't know, TikTok might be a different extreme, but like Twitter and Instagram, like we're definitely working towards having, like features to all those, because that's the way people consume content. And it goes without saying, Instagram's probably the GOAT of social apps right now. They just do it right and everyone seems to be on it. So I think there's a lot to embody there, but right now we don't have that feature. We could add the link to the pod on the back end. We could help you out there, but we're working towards those features. And it's fun to like kind of launch the raw MVP and work through updates, because we're fully bootstrapped to date pretty much. We've raised a little bit of capital and we're still trying to actively raise, but it's fun to launch a raw app and watch it grow versus, say if you're off the bat have so much money and you launch like this fully fledged app that's a little overwhelming and has all the features already. It's like great to watch the update and actually work with our users and ask them like kind of what feedback there is that they have and what features they're looking for us to add. And then we can work, potentially pivot our roadmap to really, not our roadmap, but, maybe change up some features to really make it, a better experience for our users.
Yeah, I think I've listened. The progression as to like kind of like where it is to where it can be is to me something that like makes me like really all in, because I do think, talking to you about some things like the idea that I could have my own page on there, or in theory, like we as a podcast could have our own page on there, and then people could then follow that and we could interact with people inside of the app like that, to me seems like, God, like a home run. I truly do, because I think a lot of questions that we get, like I mentioned, were where are you guys off to? Where are you playing? How are you playing? And if we are able to engage with everybody on a easier, faster level than me going through 900 DMs or 900 direct messages onto Instagram or Twitter, like I'm all in on that. Like to me, that is like why I think something like Bantee is and can be huge for people like us.
I couldn't agree more, because if you're, the Drop podcast and you're trying to, your main goal is to increase listenership, and, if you're posting on Bantee through our chirp feature, like new episode out this Wednesday, that post is going directly to golfers or golf related or golf interested people by nature, because those are the people that are on our app. So you're not really fighting for the eyeballs of golfers on, say, an Instagram. Obviously, we still have a lot of growth to be had and we're just getting started. But the goal is that, if you're a golf company or brand and you're trying to reach golfers, Bantee will be the place to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what's really cool about it. And I guess like, like when you think about, Bantee and things, like what are some things as you look, towards the future or progress into like what it can be? Are there things that you are saying to yourself, like, this is where I want it to be, this is where I think it can be, like as you're taking the next steps with building the app and more or less the brand?
Yeah. So I think it's great that you mentioned the brand, because I think one of the main things is that, which kind of rewinds again back to how I started this. So I had no technical experience in terms of software development. I barely knew how to or I didn't even really know what wireframing was when I first thought of kind of a social golf app. And it's actually, this kind of leads back to the founding of kind of our core team and kind of how I went about it. But it was in that deep of COVID, and Malvin just rolled out their Buckets Club. I don't know. Are you guys familiar with the Malvin buckets, like the
Vaguely.
NFTs?
Yeah,
Vaguely.
vaguely. Yeah.
So I am sitting there. I'm like, I don't know really what to do. I don't have that many connections within golf and tech. So I bought this NFT so I could join their Discord. And I just started pinging away like, hey, I'm working on a social golf app idea. Like I'm looking for a developer that's interested in golf and wants to help out. So one thing led to another. Someone named Jack Me Up pings me back and is like, hey, I don't know how to code, but I'm a really good UX UI designer. So I met this guy, Jack Yusko, who's still with us. And he's our kind of head of UX and UI design, who has been a home run for me in helping kind of make that the app as clean as possible. But I think where that all comes from is the branding too, because I think it's really important, especially in golf with branding to, you know, it's more relevant than ever. Golf culture is growing so fast, and kind of just being another like, I don't want to diss Golf Logic, but I'm like, if you name your app Golf Logic's a utility app and it makes sense for what it is. But if you're trying to be this like kind of branded social app that kind of has that community building aspect to it, I really wanted to make sure we had a great name and kind of imagery and branding behind it. And I think we're trying to make that happen within the app. When you go into it, like, how does it look? And also kind of, if you go to our website, we sell merchandise and hoodies and t-shirts that I think really represent and trying to represent where, what Bantee is in the golf space. But to answer your question long term, it's interesting because I definitely have my visions of it. But, now that we have this kind of a core team that, a lot of my guys are in Sweat Equity helping build this out. And I brought on actually a co-founder. His name is Andrew Winter. We met on the Y Combinator it's like a Tinder for founders. It's the Y Combinator startup founders match portal. And, I was at a point where, non-technical background, was really starting to get it going. And I was like, I definitely need someone that it wants to go all in with me. And Andrew, truly meeting Andrew was truly a grand slam because he worked at ClassPass at a family venture fund. He's kind of a huge Swiss Army knife. He's a data nerd. So he's really helpful with kind of organizing all the Bantee data on the back end. But what was I going to say? So I met him on the YC Combinator portal and we hit it off. He had started this company called Birdie Book, it was like an analog version almost of Bantee of recording your golf scores. So it was very complementary to what I was trying to do digitally. And when I think Bantee long-term, you got to weigh in everyone. So it's not just me anymore. Like, obviously I'm the CEO and I guess have final say, but that's not really the way I want to run the shop. I like, everyone has great ideas and visions and great inputs. And it's not just like they come to me with ideas, they come to me with like purpose behind the ideas. And like, they give me the whys. And, so I think we're all typically on the same page of how we see Bantee kind of in 5 to 10 years down the road, which, we're already working towards. And it's just, we got to raise the money and funding to kind of keep the wheels turning.
Yeah, there's no doubt that always, money is very, very important in terms of like keeping things going in a sense. And I do have a question about the posting. So, so if I were to post something, like obviously on Instagram or Twitter, my account is public. The Drop Podcast is public. Anybody can see it, right? But the reality is it only if you follow does it pop up on your feed. Is that how it works with Bantee as well? That if I post something on Bantee, only my quote followers see it firsthand, even though if someone wanted to access my stuff, they could still go to Mike Poro on Bantee, see my stuff. How does that work with posting within the feed on Bantee?
Yeah, so when you create a profile on Bantee, you can choose if you're public or private. I think it defaults to you being public. But when you open the feed opens to this like toggle that says all, following, and outings. And
yep, I got it open right now.
Right. It opens to the all. So if you're a public profile and I don't follow you, I will see your post on the feed. And that's a way to kind of especially being an app that's just starting out, like it's kind of just, of course, you want content when you open the app. So until the majority of our users actually have a following base, this is a great way to immediately start to absorb content. And then, of course, if you toggle over to the following, that's just content from your followers. And then outings is a feature that is a bottom-up approach, kind of Golf Genius, of just leaderboards. We're not really targeting like the golf course corporate vibe. We're targeting more like charitable events. If like the Drop podcast does an event, you could host it on Bantee's outing feature that, provides a live leaderboard and a branded like label for your outing.
Yeah, I like that. I kind of love the wording too. I love the idea of a chirp. I like that. That's kind of like, it's not like an insult, but it's kind of like a little jab. Yeah. It's like a little jab, I love that.
It's a part of the banter.
Wording. Yeah,
it's part of the banter.
The chirp is like so creative to me because it's like an indirect way of saying I'm giving you a little jab. Like, how does that feel? Like right to the,
Yeah.
But it could also be a way of encouragement as well. So it's like it can be taken both ways, and I don't know, I kind of love that word.
Yeah, it's been fun to, that Andrew thought of the chirp, that it like, and that's what's so fun when the team collectively like, comes up with ideas, and like we're all like, that's a great idea, like let's run it. And then like a week later it's up and running in the app, and you're like, it's just so fun to see the progress come in.
Yeah. No, listen, I think it's great. I do. And
I think that's something that's come into the vernacular in the last however many years. Like it used to be you talk smack, and now it's like we've kind of toned it back a little bit, but we still chirp. As Mike said, they're like little jabs, not like big smack talking kind of thing. It is really good.
Yeah, we want, I think that is one of the biggest, like, I don't know if fear is the word, but when I think about the content and, the way it's presented on Bantee, we want it to mostly be obviously all like PG-13 positive. We don't want anything, no bullying, like, none of that allowed on the app. So it's like, how do you promote the banter without over promoting, like, don't come at someone too hard and, be inappropriate. So it's definitely a kind of a slight concern, but I think, with golf, it's naturally a thing, to banter your friends and chirp them and make fun of them, or, just give them a little chirp shot. So I think that, so far it's been, no real red flags yet. So we're just hoping that kind of stays that course and people just like have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with the golf claps. I kind of like that too. It's another version of saying, instead of saying like everybody else does, it's golf's version of saying something like that. The golf clap. I think those are very creative words that ties directly into golf, which kind of separates yourself from the other social media apps, which I get it are on a completely different level in terms of Twitter and Instagram, things like that. But the way you are gearing yourselves towards that golfer, like you're using specific terminology, and I think that's so good.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. I almost should change the comment, like where it says like one or two comments, so that should say like one chirp. We might have to just update that. So stay tuned, people.
Yeah. Listen, I love
that's
that.
That's not
idea.
trademarked. You can use that.
Yeah, I do. I love that idea because I think the comment, like when I'm literally scrolling through the app as we're talking now, because I'm kind of like into it, and it sucks here in the Northeast that we kind of for me, I am not a golfer that's golfing in the cold weather. Like I'm not bundling up. Like if I go to nicer weather, different story, but it's hard for me to put more clothes on. So I vicariously like to live through people when I see what they're doing. So like, for example, like I said, with my dad playing golf in Florida, I'm like, all right, well, how you doing? So like I'm scrolling through the app, and I think that changing the word comments to chirps is like just another different. It's unique. It's cool. It's different. And I think those are things that helps make the app even better because it's not the generic thing that we all see in the apps that we live and die by.
Right. And I think being unique and original is something I really, want to stay true to. And it's it's funny because when I first started, I think, the natural thing was to kind of Google some of the competition. Like, there's 18 birdies, there's the Grant, there's this other app called Fair Game. And, they all have their great product in their own right. And I think that what I tried to do or not try to do was open their apps and look at what they were doing. So I deleted them off my phone. And because I was like, you know what, then I'm just going to start copying features or like get inspired by what they're working on in terms of golf. And I didn't want that. I was like, I also have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok on my phone, which are the mecca of social apps. So I mostly should just be on them, trying to maybe get inspirations from them of how to build out the user interface, but for golfers. And I think that's been really helpful for me because it has allowed us to come up with more original golf ideas and not just kind of mimic what some of the other players in the game are doing.
Yeah, listen, I'm all in, and I can't lie. I wish it was March and this golf season was about to start, because this app would be something that would go on my first page of my iPhone, because I'd be all over it. It sucks for me that it's end of the golf season that I can't.
Well, that's the thing.
Person.
Bantee is supposed to be your year-round golf app of content. It's not, you can post.
I'm saying in terms of me being able to actually post it on there, so I could listen to Ryan yell at me saying, nice double bogey on the 13th hole there. So that's, that I'm saying in terms of that. But like, yeah.
Hold on. He means that the other way. He wants to yell at me for saying nice double bogey on the 13th hole.
Listen, I'd say a lot. I'd say a lot of things if I saw some bad scores on your Bantee app. Trust me, there's no doubt about it. And I think that goes to again, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I could probably blitz you with a gazillion questions because that's how I operate. But like, is for guys like Ryan and I, the Drop Podcast, we have a growing following of people that listen to the podcast, that follow on all different socials, that are constantly interested in things and places we're going. Are there ways for guys like us to have our own little page per se, or our own little area within the app that our following could say, hey, listen, these guys are on there, let's get on there as well, all use the app, and maybe they are able to now branch it off to their family and friends or their groups that they play with, but also stay in tune to what we're doing while we're doing something?
Yeah, I'm actually really happy you asked about that. And this like almost ties back to your question about, Bantee down the road and how we envision the company going. So right now, yes, the Drop Pod can sign up on Bantee and create a profile the same way an individual user can. Bantee, the company, has their own account on Bantee. And that's where you would utilize the chirp feature, which is just posting the comment and photo in the form of an Instagram or tweet, or X, I should say now. But I think that there's a way stronger roadmap for, I don't know if, business accounts is it's probably the correct term, but more like, kind of LinkedIn style profiles for the Drop Pod that, you can follow it. You can, the people that you work with or like your core following can, you can communicate directly to the people that, wish to be your super followers, and kind of build out those pages so these brands and companies or golf associations can come in and communicate to their members or, their followers. So we're really excited about that. And I think it will be huge once kind of the framework really gets, a little more advanced. But for now, it's, a standard profile that you can still just go post away and start to build out your following on Bantee.
Yeah, I like that. That's one thing that I think that when I think long-term for guys like Ryan and I, that ways that we're able to communicate more with our following and our audience, because I know they're always interested in things that we're going, where we're playing, and how we're doing. So it's just another avenue for us to engage. And I think just like anything, when you create a following, they want to know what's going on. And I think this is a phenomenal way for us to do that.
Yeah, I think it will be, we're excited to get the Drop Pod on Bantee and start, getting the message out about new episodes and just, increasing your listenership. Because I think, once, it just is another avenue for brand awareness. And I think it will it'll be a high converting one.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I could sit here and keep going, but I don't want to ruin your Saturday afternoon because I do know it's a somewhat decent day outside. So listen, if you don't or haven't downloaded the app, I mean, you got to go to the App Store. I mean, it's probably better to hear from you, Billy, directly rather than me kind of say it. So why don't you let the audience know where to go, how to download the app, and what to do?
Yeah, Bantee is available to download on both the iOS and Google Play Store. We'd love for everyone to get on there and join the banter and start golfing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm on there. You can follow me at mpuro. I'm on there. I got my handicap on there, and now I'm working on creating everything.
You gotta get your username. Those handles, they're valuable these days. We're just excited for we officially launched in January, and so we're coming up on a year. So we're just really excited for the next year and to really just continue the growth and just keep grinding away at it. So we're excited to see everyone get on there, and hopefully the listeners here are willing to give it a chance.
Yeah, but listen, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Again, like Billy mentioned, like go download the app, go use the app. We'll be on the app. It's just another way for all of us to engage and to interact and to kind of play golf, talk golf, and experience all things golf like Ryan and I have been pushing from day one. So go check that out on any platform, service, phone that you use. So thanks again, Billy. I appreciate everything.
No, thanks, guys. This was a pleasure, and we'll have to get part 2 someday. Be a reoccurring guest or something.
Works for us, dude. Works for us.
All right, guys. Cheers.
Take care.
Name a better feeling than buying something you can take and wear anywhere. Money spent on quality products is money well spent. Even more so when you can rock that purchase just about anywhere. Why would you spend a fortune on clothes you'll only wear to the course when you could buy that gear that's just as nice at home, at a holiday party, or work event, yet comfy enough it doubles as loungewear? Obviously, we'd all love to be playing 36 holes every weekend of the year, but just because you have to sneak in a quick 9 before work doesn't mean you need to change your clothes. And as winter closes in, check out their new festive hoodies and beanies to fight off the chill at www.swannies.co and use code THEDROP25 for 25% off. Swannies is your go-to from work to golf and everything in between.